Hello everybody, welcome back to AJATT and Immersion. This is the long-awaited, long-anticipated 1-year update. So this means that last year, June 26th of 2021 was the first day that I started taking the AJATT seriously. And today is June 26th, 2022. This video will not be posted today though. It's gonna be very long. I'll probably post it in a couple days. But yeah guys, we made it. I didn't think I'd be here. That's a lie, I knew I'd be here all along. But it's kind of crazy how 13 months ago, if I'm talking with a little bit of a lisp, I still have my retainers in, but crazy to think that 13 months ago, I couldn't even say 안녕하세요. You know, I couldn't read Hangul. I just didn't know anything. I couldn't even recognize it if you pointed it out to me. I didn't know the difference between Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. To now, being on this stuff right here with the whole, Korean knot, Korean book, everything. I'll get on this later, but it's been quite a year, guys. So, I thank God for the blessings, inshallah. The Lord willed for me to be here, and here we are. What do they say? Alhamdulillah. It's good, it's crazy that we're here. It's good that we're here. We made it. First of all, before we actually get into the contents of the video, this is not a video of me speaking Korean. I'm not going to be speaking, giving a monologue in Korean. So this is not that video. This video is mainly let's split into parts. I'll have the chapters down when you can scroll into the chapters. First we'll go over the past 2 months. So the past 2 months, since I posted, so was it April 10th that I posted last? I think in that video I said I'd be reading more, which I have been reading more. I finished up Yono, I finished up 인간 실력, I finished up, and that's it, right? Just those 2 books. And then I started 나를 파괴할 권리가 있다, but it was just really hard. Hard to read, really hard to read, to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore. So I just put that book down and I started 구의 천명, right? And this book is really cool, really fun to read. Very interesting too. The story is really sad, but it's really interesting too. How the writer thought of this. Great writer. Writer is Choi Jin-young. This book right here, and it's just a wonderful book. It's I'm speaking early, but I think it's one of my favorite books by the time I finish it. I'll show you guys the new books that I picked up recently in the last 2 months. The first one that I got was this book right here titled 국어 시간에 소설 읽기. Number 1, of course, very good one. This was given to me by Jay, a good friend of mine, obviously. This is actually, I'm gonna have to give this one back though, because I feel bad because it was given to Jae Hyung, Jay's older brother, right? In 2014, so I'm gonna have to give this one back. Another one that he gave to me was 오체 불만족, about the Japanese man who couldn't, no arms, no legs. Should be an interesting read. Yeah. And then the 2 that I bought, let's start with this one right here. 7년의 밤 by 정유정. I thought this book was really cool, and I picked it up just because it was interesting. I saw a lot of good reviews on this. Very highly recommend it. So I picked it up. This book right here, wonderful book. It's kind of thick though, it has like 500 pages. Yeah. And this book, which actually was one of the first books that I ever looked at in Korean, called 깊은 슬픔 by Shin Kyung-soo. This is a book that was published in 2006, I think, or her first novel published, I believe. And it is a thick book. It's about almost 600 pages. published in '06, I said the year I was born. But yeah, this book is really cool. And those are the 4 that I have, in addition to the other like 10, 12 that I have. So not total about 15 books. Online I have a lot more books. I have like Shoko and Miso by a Japanese author, I forget her name. What else do I have? Currently online, I'm on 3 books right now. I'm reading Kuo Jeonmyeong. I'm reading 이방인 by Albert Camus. And I'm reading Sisyphus Shinhwa, also by Albert Camus. Those are my 3 main. I'm focusing mainly on 이방인 because it's so easy to read. And I can read it really quickly. So yeah, I'm mainly focusing on those 2. Which I think is going to be one of my main activities for the next month at least. I'm going to be going to Europe for about a month. So there's not a lot of listening you can do there. But you can do quite a bit of reading. So I think I'm going to be focusing on those 2 books while I'm in Europe. So I think that's pretty much it for my reading that I've been doing for the last 2 months. For listening, I've been, same, it's regular stuff, right? So, lots of K-dramas, obviously. I'm on Mr. Sunshine. But that one's really, really hard because so that one's hard for many reasons. It's set in a different time period. I think it's like 1912. So Korean, it's like old Korean. So it's a little bit harder to understand. Like even on the screen, it pops out words that, like Korean words with the definition because Koreans typically don't know those words. So it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm gonna look at me, think like I have no idea what's going on. B, it's like really, really formal because they're talking about nobles and like armies and stuff like that. It's really formal language, very advanced language. It's like basically half Chinese, and no subs, so it's tough. Also, like, they're speaking really weird accents and stuff because like different parts. It's not, but they're not like in Seoul. It's not like Seoul Saturi. So that was really hard. But I mean, it's still technically listening. You're still learning something. Your brain is still starting to figure stuff out. So I still watch it. I'm like on episode 5, but because of those reasons, I've adopted other dramas. So I think currently I'm watching like 5. So it's Mr. Sunshine. It's right now because it just came out. Yeat. The Korean Gase Babel, right? That one's so good. Oh my gosh. It's only like 6 episodes, but it's so good, guys. Like everybody should watch that one. It's so good. That one's pretty easy to understand actually. Besides all like the government jargon, it's pretty easy to understand. Which one else am I watching? Prison Ball is also really hard. I'm watching mainly like no subtitle shows. Prison Ball, 나의 아저씨, 비밀의 숲 has subtitles, but I'm not really watching that one. But 나의 아저씨, and I think 즐기로운 깊은 something. I forget what it's called. Prison Ball. Those are my main K-dramas right now. But right now I'm focusing on Yeat just to finish that one off, and then Mr. Sunshine, and I think I'm gonna be focusing on Mr. Sunshine and I think Prison Ball. Those 2 are my main ones, just to get those out of the way. I'll definitely come back later and rewatch them just to like train my no subs here. But yeah, that's it for like K-dramas. I'm trying to watch them on Disney Plus, but I don't have that one right now. So it is what it is. I'm probably gonna get Vicky, just because I want like the Asian drama app Netflix type stuff. So I might get on that one. Other than Netflix and K-dramas, I've been on a lot of web dramas, like on YouTube. There's YouTube channels that publish like, no disrespect, but like really poorly made, well, not poorly made, but just like not professionally made dramas that are really easy to understand because they're simple plot, right? And they're very casual speech, very like real speech. Very much that you hear like IRL. So that helps a lot with like keeping it kind of down to earth, so to speak. Like connecting back with the real world, because that's how people like actually talk. Because K-dramas aren't how people actually talk. That's scripted. That's it's written. It's dramatic purposes, but by professional writers, right? But when it's like a web drama, then it's just like a regular dude, right? And they're writing more like what a regular person would say. You know what I'm trying to say? So that. And other than that, just a lot of YouTube in general. So I've been looking at some science stuff, trying to expand my domains and whatnot. With a lot of science stuff, a lot of math, lots of mathematics. These are my mathematics notes. So this one is on the 중간값 정리, the IAPT, I believe. I just have all my notes in Korean and whatnot about the IAPT. And I've been learning like math jargon and stuff like that, math terms, in case I do go to Korea for school in college, so I won't be completely lost. And yeah, so I've been watching a lot of stuff like that, a lot of educational stuff. This is one channel I love. It's called 널리면서 심리학 배우기. I think that's what it's called. I'll put it up here, link in the description. But that one gets me a lot of words about like psychology and stuff. It's really cool. I enjoy their videos a lot, like 20-minute videos, and you farm a lot of words from it. I mean, at least I do. I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for my listening. I've been doing some passive listening, but it's not too much. Anki, same old. We're not gonna spend too much time here. I think I said in the last one, I'm done. I'm 10 cards a day right now, just to keep it short and simple. But I have noticed that I have been understanding a lot more Korean definitions. So I'm making a lot of cards, with no English on them, which is really good, because you got a lot of gains. And when I do my reps, I make sure I read the Korean definition, and if it's easy enough, then I'll just memorize the Korean definition and force myself to recall the Korean definition for the word on the card. And if I can't, then I just mark it wrong. That's how strict we are. But most days, if I'm really tired, I just want to go to sleep, I just skip it. I don't care. But yeah, Anki, when you get to this level, it's when you get past 2K words. I'm at 4,400 words. When you guys past 2K, it starts really like not mattering as much. Now I want to talk about the year, right? So, as you know, the whole point of this video, it's been a year since I started. Started AJATT. I've been learning Korean for about a year and like 2 weeks. If I want to start officially, probably like about 13 months. But in that month, it was really just like 20 minutes a day, watching like Korean Pod 101, learning Hangul for, getting good at Hangul, and doing, I think it's called Jenny's Korean or something like that. Really, I love that. I love that. I remember spending a lot of time on that, doing Duolingo, so it wasn't really like actual studying, or hardcore studying, sorry. If you want to go hardcore studying, but still not AJATT, it was probably around June 15, maybe, where I started like hardcore studying on Duolingo, hardcore studying on YouTube, stuff like that. But it still wasn't really AJATT, even though it was kind of like immersing. I was watching K-dramas with Korean subtitles, not knowing really anything about AJATT or immersion. I just need to expose myself to the language, and I just kept doing that. And then about 10 days later, on June 26th, it was a little bit earlier. It was maybe about June 22, June 20. I started learning up about refold, AJATT, immersion, stuff like that. And I read a lot about it just to make sure that it was like legit and that I knew how it worked. And I knew the foundation of it. And then June 26th is when I started. Like I left all my Duolingo stuff. I deleted Duolingo. I switched all my stuff to Korean. My region to Korean, my time to Korean. I was on Seoul time. All that stuff. I started eating with chopsticks. And, I still, to this day, try to eat with chopsticks as much as possible. With chopsticks or spoons. I try not to use forks. And, yeah, we went full AJATT. So, I didn't really buy anything. I was going full AJATT, right? Read a lot, listened to a lot of K-dramas, which is how I improved my reading speed, which we'll talk about later. And yeah, so that happened for a couple months. I was doing passive listening as well. I remember going on vacation, I still had my earbud in. I had this little joint right here in my ear almost all the time. It kind of caused ear pain, but it was for the AJATT. After I came back, 2 months, I was I wasn't good, but I was much better than I was 2 months ago, because I've been immersing for like 5-6 hours a day for like 2 months. So I couldn't really understand anything. Like, if I read the word like the phrase 몇 시야, like 몇 시야, or like 몇 시야, like what time is it, then I could understand it. But I remember distinctly, my Korean friend sitting next to me, she said 몇 시야, and I looked at her and I was like, wait, what'd you say? And she kept repeating it, and I was like, huh? And then she said, what time is it? And I was like, oh, 몇 시야. Right, and that still happens to this day for certain phrases, like, or certain sentences that, like, I know the word, but I don't really understand the words, like, in my ear, but it's like, oh, what okay. Because I never heard the phrase 몇 시야, or I never, like, pondered on it, considered it, the phrase 몇 시야, and it was really fast, and I just didn't understand it, but I mean, we got used to it eventually, which is why, like, Katsumoto was right, or whoever said it, you don't learn a language, you get used to it, right? That's so true. You get used to how people talk, what people are gonna say, how people are gonna say things, how people are gonna word things, how they pronounce things, and you just get used to it. And then you start understanding stuff, right? Which is why I like to read long books. Well, even though I haven't really read long books, but theoretically I would love to read a longer book, because by the end, like after 300 pages, you've already gotten used to that person's writing style. Which is also where I like to stick to specific authors, like Shin Kyung-suk, Chong Yu-jung. I'm gonna look up the author of Kue Chun-young, because she's so good. That book is so amazing. And yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that. I went back into school, right? That's where I was. Yeah, I went back into school, August. And that's where the AJATT was still strong, because I was still in it, right? And then I started doing really poorly in school, a lot of missing assignments. And then I realized, okay, I have to have a balance in my life. I have to have homework here. I have to have like the triangle, right? So on my shirt, actually my uniform to school says mental, spiritual, physical, which are like the 3 tenets of education for my religion. Which I had the mental, I had the physical and the spiritual, but I was, it wasn't really balanced. You need a balanced life. So I had to put the AJATT, for about a couple of days, I had to really like crunch down the AJATT into like 1 or 2 hours to build up the stuff, to build a balance. But then after that, I had a balance of like, okay, homework done first, then workout, well then AJATT, then workout. And then when I gained a lot of weight, which is, as you can see right here, is when recently that I decided to start getting back into shape. That kind of like exercising came back up a little bit, and then AJATT was third. So I only did AJATT after I done the first 2 things, which would make me want to rush the first 2 things, which actually left me with more time than the beginning. So, because yeah, it's better. I think for me, I think it's better in general to do 4 hours of immersing per day. So like on 2 days you do 4 hours of immersing, then one day you do 8, because retention, you're not going to retain everything that you learned in those 8 hours, and when you sleep the next day, if you don't immerse, you're not going to remember, you're not going to refresh what you learned the day before. But if you do 4 hours, you retain a moderate amount, and then the next day when you sleep and you wake up and you refresh it even more, it's going to solidify even more, which is I think helped me actually a lot. Yeah. And then for AJATT, purely AJATT activities, that's pretty much what happened. I started reading a little more throughout the year, back in, until like, I think in August, September, I started reading Shin Kyung-suk, Oma를 부탁해. And then I finished that one like in February, March, I forget when. But yeah, like, we kept going. Reading more, listening more. And then summer hit, and recently I've been watching a lot more, immersing a lot more. So that's it for strictly AJATT activities I've been doing for the last year. And I think the biggest thing the last year concerning learning Korean is, I'm not gonna say there was depression, but it was really an unfortunate situation where, so since about February of 2021, I've been wanting to study abroad. I first wanted to go to Japan, then to Korea, and then June 26th hit, and I said, okay, I need to go study in Korea, because like this is like for the future, this is where my life is gonna be. Well, not my life, but like this is where the AJATT is. And that's like, if I go there, that's like very guaranteed I'm gonna get really, really good at Korean, because I'm extremely motivated to do it, and there's a lot of immersion there. So I was looking into Adventist schools. I'm a very religious person, so I can only go to Adventist institutions that are within my religion. I looked at all of them, literally all of them in the country, emailed all of them, called all of them. No response. Well, they responded, but it was very weird. And then when it wasn't complete, I literally called up the president of the conference, or the man in charge of that region for my church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? So we're divided into conferences. So the Northeastern Pacific region, or conference, or I think region, is run by a man named Jonas Arias, and I literally emailed him. So if anybody could do anything, it would be him. He called the school up. He said, "Hey, yo, can this get to pull up?" They said, "Yeah, pull up." And then when I emailed that school, they said, "We can give you a visa, but you have to come with your parents, and my parents are not going to move with me to South Korea for 6 months just for me to learn Korean." So that dream is gone. The hope is gone of me ever going to high school in Korea. So I'll never be able to wear that school uniform, never be able to, go to love to word with my friends after school, never get to go to Hakwon. That dream is gone. Never gonna get that back. Never gonna get that ever. Not even back. Never gonna get it. So I found out that hope. Well, the hope started fading right around September, because I was very convinced, and it was going to happen around August. But then something changed in the rules, the codes, the regulations, which made me not be able to go. And I found out about September. And that's when my hope started fading. So around November, I was really just tired. Around December is when I really found out that it was really grim. January, hope started fading. February, hope started fading. March, I was kind of like, yeah, we're just shooting. We're shooting blanks here. We're what's it called? We're gripping in the dark. April hit, and then I think May is when I found, like, April was already like, okay, only got, if it's got about like 주님의 뜻이라면, we go like inshallah. And then May was when we got the email that ended it all, basically. That said, yeah, you have to come with your parents to get a visa. And my parents are gonna come with me for 6 months to South Korea, leaving all my brothers behind and their jobs. So I think the worst time for me was between December and May, because that's when I was like, yeah, my life is over. There's nothing worth to live for, because I've been spending all this time. Well, when September hit, I was already like, oh, bro, like I was the first one, like, oh, I've been doing this for nothing. And then I kept doing it. I kept AJATting throughout September to December. And then when January hit, I was like, bro, I just spent 6 months of my life, towards a goal that's never gonna happen. And then February, March, April, and that's when I was really like the worst part of the months of my life, where it was just monotonous. Just wake up, study, AJATT, sleep, next. That's when I gained a lot of weight too. And it was just really not good times in my life, because like everything that I've been working for, that I had been working for, that I am working for, is really for nothing. Because potentially, first of all, okay, I'm not gonna go this year. So I didn't go in 2021. I'm not gonna go in 2022. I might go in 2023 for the summer for about 2 months. And the next time I'll go maybe 2 years after that, for either a year or one month or maybe 1 year. I don't know. But the point is that I'm not end up spending 3, 4 years, 5 years of my life learning a language to not live in the country. I'm not going to live in South Korea. I mean, I don't know what plans God has for me, but how it's looking, I'm not going to live in South Korea. I'm probably going to look to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to go to medical school in South Korea. So maybe I'm probably going to, because for college, I'm going to be going to Southern Advanced University. Surprise. And there's a lot of Koreans there. I'm going to be attending Korean church. But, you know, the plan 6 months ago was to marry a Korean chick, right? The Korean baddie. But I don't even know if I want that anymore. Because I realize, like, Koreans, like, they're weird, man. Like, I love them, but they're just really, I don't know. They're not weird, but it's just, I don't know about marrying one. I don't know if I'm about that life. I don't know if I can. I mean, I can definitely handle it, but I don't know if I'm about that life. I'll have to look into it in the future when that bridge comes to be passed. You know, when the time comes to cross that bridge. We'll see. But yeah, like how it's looking, I don't think I'm gonna marry a Korean. So, and then going back, so May hit, and that's when I got the email that, you know, it was all over. The whole journey was over. Trying to get to Korea in high school was like that. That ship had sailed, so to speak. And when that hit, I was like, I almost cried, because it was like, you know, 10 months of my life just wasted. 11 months of my life actually just wasted, doing absolutely balls. That's how it felt, at least. You know, just waking up, you know, AJATting for hours on end, knowing that this is going to be worth nothing. We kept going, and now we're here at the 1 year review with a total of 15 books in my possession, 3 under my belt, 25 K-dramas watched, like 7 movies, 8 movies, 10 movies, I think 11 movies actually watched. And yeah, it's just crazy how life turns out, man. If the Lord wills, inshallah, we go summer 2023, after I graduate, for about 2-3 months, hopefully 2 months. Come back, and then back to, you know, into college, and then hopefully make some Korean friends. They're going to Korean church, and improve our Korean enough for the 2-year update. I don't know when I'll go to Korea next time. I don't even know if I'll go this summer. But if I don't go this summer, I don't know when I'm gonna go. Maybe, possibly, you know, the next 10 years. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds. It's all in God's, you know, God knows the plans He has for me. You know, I like to say trust the process. The first step of the process is not rushing the process. So, it is what it is. You know, it's kind of unfortunate that's how my life has turned out to be. That's how my life is going to be. But we'll take this as a learning lesson. I never regret anything I do. And yeah, before you ask, given the choice, if you go back to May 2021, you say, hey, yo, if you learn Korean, you're going to be, you know, in 13 months, this is what situation you're going to be in. You know, you're not going to know Korean, first of all. You're going to be trash at it. You're not going to go to Korea for the next 3 years. You're going to lose what I had at that time. You know, I think that really mattered at that time. You're going to lose the reason why you started. And you're going to be struggling to find a new one. All my brethren know what I'm referring to. And yeah. So, and given that choice, at 15 years old, how old? Yeah, that's how old I was about a year ago. I still would have done it. And it's kind of really cool. I was reading my comments. Shout out to Julian. I know he's watching this video. I'm in the 30, especially. I know you're watching this video, but it is nostalgic to look back. 15 years old, doing Duolingo and all this stuff, madly in love, just to impress a girl, right? Julian, you said a very smart thing. Yeah, that I hadn't thought of, that even though I didn't have all the right methods, I didn't have all the right resources, I still had the grind, I had still the passion. Which is what I think is really important to have, especially if you want to be successful in anything that you do. Have that passion, even though a lot of beginners when they start, tangent one right here, a lot of beginners when they start off doing anything that takes a lot of skill to do, or anything that you can get to a high level to, they spend most of their beginning time looking for the best resources rather than actually doing it. Me, I didn't spend time doing that. I bought a book, beginner book. That same day I made that video. And I started grinding. And then it wasn't until about 2 weeks later that I found out the truth about Immersion, AJATT, all that stuff. And then we hopped on that. And it's been working for me ever since. So yeah, I think that's one thing you need to have: a lot of passion, a lot of desire. I want to say something to all people who are gonna learn a language. People who are watching this. Well, first of all, if you're still watching this at this point, congratulations. Thank you for listening to my words. It's probably boring, very monotonous. But if you're gonna learn a language, you have to have your priorities straight. Why you're learning a language. I knew why I was learning it. It was a stupid reason. Now looking back, it was ever a hard, like a mentally dumb reason to be doing it. But I still did it. I don't regret it. Given the choice, I would do it again. But yeah, everybody learning a language, especially one like Korean, like Japanese, like Chinese, like Hindi, anything really with a different script that is vastly different from your own. Or realistically, any language outside of your language family, other than like Indonesian or something, that's really easy. Any language out of your language family, you have to really think about why you want to do it, because it's going to take years. It's going to take thousands of hours of painful, hard work, trying to get to a point where you're fluent, right? Because if it's Spanish, I'm Hispanic. I speak English. I speak Spanish. I understand a lot of Portuguese. Oh, almost all Portuguese, right? Because my mother's Brazilian, and I can speak a bit too. But if people say, yeah, do you speak Portuguese? I say no. But I understand like almost all of it. But yeah, if I was learning Portuguese, that'd be the easiest thing ever. It's extremely similar to Spanish. I could probably learn it with to very, very high fluency within a year. Within a year and a half, even a year and a half, even 1 year, I would say. And learn it really well. To get really good at it, probably give me 3 years. But to get to a point where I can say, yeah, I'm fluent in Portuguese, I'd probably take about a year. Right? If I was gonna learn, say, French, that'd also take me about 1-2 years, not 4 or 5 years as it takes in Korean. And it'd be a lot easier for me to pick up stuff in French and be a lot more fluent in it, because the grammar is very, very similar to Spanish grammar and English grammar. Same thing with Italian. Italian would be super easy as well. You see where I'm going with this. So yeah, really think about when you're learning a language vastly different from your own. Unless it's completely necessary, honestly, I would say don't learn a language. It sounds really harsh. It sounds really hypocritical because I'm doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it for the rest of my life. But if you're not extremely mentally stable, have a very balanced life, and have a lot of free time like I did and like I do, don't learn a language. Americans, y'all don't even need to, like if you speak English, you literally don't need to learn a language, because everybody's learning English. Like, first of all, if you're learning a language for like use, like to be useful in your life, unless you're gonna live in another language, the only language you need to know is English and Chinese, and Mandarin Chinese specifically. Like learning French, like okay, France is like a very big economy, but it's not like everybody there speaks English too. If you're learning Japanese, like why would you learn Japanese if you could learn Chinese, right? Yeah, it's easier, but more, Japan's like a dying country, guys. It's literally a dying country. So yeah, the only language you can tell is really English. Maybe Spanish if you live in America, because half the world speaks Spanish, right? Half the Americas speak Spanish. So yeah, like just learning a language isn't really the greatest option, but if you're into that, like I am, go for it, but I wouldn't recommend it. if you do decide to embark on the great challenge of learning a language to fluency, you have to promise yourself that you're never going to quit, right? Because if you stop, then that's only reinforcing the fact that you're a quitter. So that whenever you try to do something else and try to get to a high level in that, you're gonna look back and say, oh yeah, I quit after X many months in doing, learning Korean or whatever language. And it's gonna be harder for you to overcome and completely fulfill your goals. But if you keep going, then you'll be able to look back on the experience of you learning another language and be like, okay, I did that. That means I can do this as well. Like, that was so much harder than this. Now I can do this. And even for me, like, knowing that I've reached a year in Korean immersion where a lot of people don't, quit after a couple months. It's not a sense of pride, but it's sort of like, it makes me think that, okay, if I did this, I can do this as well. If I'm committed to a year learning Korean, I can, pass this test. I can study for this. I can get a 1500 on the SAT, etc., etc. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. Life in AJATT. AJATT is my life. So what I mean by that is AJATT has to be in everything. Right, I wake up in the morning, I pray, and I AJATT. Eventually I'll get to the point where I'm praying in Korean. I'm not at that point yet, so I don't want to blaspheme my Lord. I'm not blaspheming, but disrespecting by speaking another language and then butchering it all. Also, that's output, so do with that what you will. But yeah, like, take your notes in Korean, right? Read, listen in your free time, put posters in your room, right? Talk to people, and like, immerse yourself, guys. A lot of us complain about not having opportunities to immerse, but like, there's no, okay, if I can immerse several hours a day while working 2 jobs, I'm a math tutor at Math Nation, while studying, and I work at a clinic doing stuff. If I can do that with 2 jobs, if I can study AP Calculus BC, if I can study for the SAT, all in one day, I can work out twice in one day and still immerse for several hours a day, then y'all can do it too. Guys, just stop making excuses and take charge of your life. Build a schedule, balance your life, because balance is the ultimate thing, right? Everything is a scale. Tips that I would give to beginner learners, or anybody that's, beginner learners, like from us. So I'll just say, like, the things that I regret. So I regret when I started, now looking back, is not studying grammar as much as I should have. I never looked up Talk to Me in Korean. I never looked up like how to learn Korean, which is a website that I use nowadays to study grammar. The truth is that Korean grammar is just so much more different than American grammar that there's no way you're gonna pick that up through osmosis, through immersion. Eventually you will, but after 5 years, you could just search up in 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. That doesn't mean do grammar drills. That's stupid. That's dumb. Don't do grammar drills. I'm saying look up grammar and then learn it through immersion. So yes, look up grammar. That's number 1. Number 2, if you get bored of something, switch it off, or switch to something else that you would enjoy, or something new immediately. So I had a problem where I had to finish every single page on my side. So which led me to spending, procrastinating and just watching other stuff that wasn't, that wasn't AJATT related. And that's really bad. So I adopted this new thing recently that if I'm watching a show, I'm like, bro, this is so boring. Once that thought enters my head, I get off of it. I either read or I switch to another show. Which is why I'm watching like 5 shows at a time right now, because I was watching Mr. Sunshine, and then one episode was really boring, and so I just switched it to Yeat, and then I just didn't I woke up one day, I just didn't want to watch Yeat, and I just turned on AJATT or Prison Ball, and then reading. I was reading 나는 나를 바꿔야 할 권리가 있다, and I got to page 25, and it was really boring. I put it back, and I got Kuei Chungyang. Simple as that, guys. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many books you read. It's about how much you read. It's not about books read. It's about hours read. It's about words read. It's about paragraphs read. It's about sentences read. I personally don't care that I've read 5 books. I'd rather read 1,000 pages than 1,000 pages that I actually enjoyed than like 1,500 or even 2,000. 1,500 that I didn't enjoy. That I didn't get much out of. Because the more you enjoy something, the more engaged you are with it, which means you learn better. Don't bore yourself, guys. It's supposed to be a fun process, even although a hard process, it's supposed to be a fun process. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it for if you. Oh, also for beginners when you're learning Hangul. Sorry. Learn it through. Well, first of all, once you learn Hangul, you're gonna be trash. You're gonna be able to read balls, right? Get really familiar with sound change rules, and then pick a K-drama, start watching it, Korean subtitles, and focus on trying to read the subtitles, because when you start, what happened with me when I was reading it, I couldn't even read the first word before the subtitle moved right onto the next subtitle set. So that kind of forced my brain to okay, read faster, because you need to read this entire thing before it passes. So at first it'd be if it was 뭐 하는 거야? That was the phrase. It'd be 뭐 하, and then boom, next one. And then it was 무슨 짓이야? 무슨, and then boom, next one. So that kind of forced my brain to familiarize itself with a lot of common words 뭐 무슨 하는 거야, 것이다, 겁니다, all that stuff. Or because when you start even 입니다 or 예요, we're gonna have to think about it before you read it. But then once you get more advanced, it's just gonna be automatic. So you're gonna just see the shape of it, which is what happens in English, right? When you read, you don't really look at the letters in the word so much as how the word looks itself. That's what's happening in Korean with me now. So I just look at the shape of the word and oh, 거예요, or 갈 거예요. I was oh, that's future tense. I'm going to go, right? And it just translates immediately into meaning, because there's so much repetition, right? I think my jaw's getting sore. Pause. So yeah, to improve reading speed, watch a lot of K-dramas with Korean subtitles. Focus on trying to read it, and then with K-dramas, since it's already audio, you're gonna get the pronunciation in you as well, which will help your pronunciation out in the future. Because if you pick up a book after barely learning Hangul, you start reading that trash, your pronunciation is gonna be trash because you don't know sound change rules. 넉넉하다, 니은 기억하다. You pronounce it 넉넉하다 instead of 넉넉하다. Or 1년, 1년, you pronounce it 1년. That's how you're supposed to say it. Or 6월, July, or June, 6월, not 6월, 6월, 6월. 7일, you say 7일, 7일. 4월, stuff like that. So when I started to say 4월, like the American L, 4월, but now then I learned 4월, right? So real, not real, right? So you just learn stuff like that watching K-dramas. So yeah, so I would say for early beginners. Once you get more advanced, start reading more intensively, and start watching more YouTube. And then once you get about 6 months, you start focusing on using or on trying to find Han, like Korean definition words, like Anki cards with only Korean definitions, and mastering dictionary domain, which dictionary language. So intentionally learn dictionary words so that you can get used to them when you see a Korean definition. Because yeah, me too. Lately, I've been thinking a lot. That sounds like a song. I've been making a lot of Anki cards with Korean definitions, and I can understand a lot of them, and that's only because I set it up months before. So yeah, and as your vocabulary grows, then it just becomes easier to understand more more definitions because you know more words. So yeah, and then once you get to 9 months, focus on reading a lot. Cause that's when you start seeing a lot of gains, and you reading a lot. Cause reading is like very, it's the most important. That's a lie. I think listening is more important. But in terms of language acquisition, reading is a lot more important than listening. But in terms of speaking, in terms of thinking and stuff like that, speaking is listening is way more important. But reading is probably the best input resource that you can use. So yeah, just read a lot. That's what I would say. Read a lot. That's all I can think of for today. Future plans. So I'm gonna be in Europe for about a month. Hopefully, the Lord wills, we buy some Korean books there in some random store in Paris, something like that. There's gotta be a Korean bookstore somewhere there. It's a whole continent. The AJATT's gonna suffer, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna focus on listening and reading. I'm gonna be doing very light Anki, which is completely fine. Anki's worth like pretty much nothing right now at this point. I'm focusing on a lot of reading, a lot of listening, as much as I can, within the bounds that I'm given. I believe in not having preference, not complaining. Not gonna complain that I'm not gonna be able to immerse. It is what it is. I'm gonna be in Europe having fun. Stay tuned for the vlogs that are gonna come from Europe. It's gonna get so crazy. I'm excited. And yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's it for this video, guys. So it's been a hell of a year. I'm gonna make it count while I'm here. God is the only man I fear. If you're watching this, thank you for watching to the end. Although you should have been immersing, but it's fine because it's AJATT related. Shout out to Julian, my guy. So inspirational, inspired me actually. And yeah, thank y'all for watching. This video is kind of like depressing, but it is what it is. I'm just telling the truth here. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next vlog. It'll probably be coming out in a couple days. And stay tuned for the Europe vlogs. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Thank you.